Hello, I'm Annette Young and welcome to the 51%, a show about women reshaping our world. Coming up, how to make the world a kinder place. Many would say it begins with the young, and as France starts to teach empathy in the classroom, we take a look at Danish schools which already have it on the curriculum. Yet, why do we still see empathy as a feminine value? I'll be talking shortly to Dr Shaheena Janjuha-Jivraj, a specialist in diversity, innovation and leadership. Plus, the importance of role models. We head to Somalia, where women are making small but significant gains in traditionally male-dominated sectors such as construction and engineering. But first, and these days it's become a buzzword in the world of business, I'm talking about empathy, an important quality which governs the way in which we interact socially and which also impacts the way our personal relationships develop. Yet why do we still see it as a feminine quality? And how do we educate both girls and boys to incorporate empathy into their behaviours? Since 1993, Denmark has been teaching empathy in schools, as schools here in France are now moving to include it into their curriculum. This report from our colleagues at France 2.
In a first grade class in Copenhagen, these Danish students have a ritual that may seem strange, drawing on their neighbors' backs. They're trying to convey a story told by their teachers.
The two bears really wanted to come to Denmark, so they packed their suitcases.
The exercise is part of what the Danes call empathy lessons. At the end, each student thanks their neighbor.
Thanks for letting me borrow your back.
The aim is for the children to have warm interactions.
It allows the children to feel closer to each other, and it follows that if they're sad, they won't be afraid to ask for a hug from a classmate.
Another exercise involves this stuffed bear, which a female student spontaneously offers to one of her classmates, who appears to be upset.
If someone is crying, you give them the bear. And if they're still sad, you can give them a hug.
Empathy lessons are required in Denmark to learn from a young age how to be a caring friend as a way of preventing bullying in the schoolyard.
Hi, Pia.
Parents also play an important role and receive strict instructions so that no child feels left out, especially when it comes to social gatherings outside of school. And when this mother asks her daughters what to do if a classmate is being bullied, they don't hesitate to offer a response.
I say stop, and I ask if I can help. If that doesn't work, I go and get an adult.
The girl's 12-year-old brother also has to obey rules when it comes to social media. It's forbidden to create groups with just some friends at school. He can only communicate with his entire class.
I never write messages that are mean, and if someone is different, that's no problem.
Empathy classes appear to be working in Denmark. A vast majority of Danish students say they feel accepted for who they are, and the lessons have been shown to drastically reduce student aggression in the classroom.
So we've been talking there about teaching empathy to children, but what about in the workplace? Joining me now from Doha is Dr Shaheena Janjuha-Jivraj, a specialist in diversity, innovation and leadership at HEC Paris. Thank you so much for your time, Shaheena. Research consistently shows that women are more inclined to show empathy than men. So how do you get the message across that it is not merely a feminine value and that everybody stands to benefit?
What we know about empathy is that it is a very strong emotional skill, and we know that emotional work is still regarded as gendered. Women carry the bulk of that within the workplace. But actually, empathy is a superpower for leaders, and along with creativity, it gives you the ability to understand the perspective of your colleagues, your customers, your clients, and that is what we know is absolutely critical for leaders today.
So, Shaheena, what exactly does an empathetic workplace look like?
Well, an empathetic workplace is a place where, I mean, we all live within a workplace where we work. We have a lot of emotions that we bring into the workplace. We like to think that we're rational thinkers, but in reality, we're doers. We have emotions and feelings that come into a lot of what we do. We get on with colleagues, we fall out with colleagues, we have challenges, problems that we're bringing in from home. We don't often leave those feelings at the door. And really, what we want in order to work well, and even more so when we're working with diverse colleagues, we want to feel valued, we want to feel cared for, we want to feel that we belong. I mean, and that's where we know our performance, our sense of being is at its best. And so really, an empathetic workplace is a human workplace.
Now, you work in the field of business education. So the obvious question is, what does it mean for the bottom line?
Yeah, it's a really important question. And actually, there are two ways that we look at this. The first is really, it's about improving performance, because innovation, creativity, these are absolutely key results and key assets that every leadership, every organization needs today. And you can only really get the value from diversity and creativity when you have strong empathetic leadership, when you have teams that are willing to really talk about the challenges they're facing, what's going on in terms of their products, their services, and also then being really creative about the solutions, because we have to find new ways of providing solutions, whether they're internal systems or externally for the market. So we know that revenue is linked to innovation. But there is another side to this, which is actually about dealing with burnout and dealing with attrition. Without empathy, you have much higher rates of burnout, you have much higher rates of attrition. Last year, we talked a lot about quiet quitting and what that meant for the workforce. And what's really interesting, actually, when a manager, sort of a middle manager, resigns, the cost of the company is about 150% of their salary from the moment they resign to the moment you recruit somebody else in that place. And for a senior leader, that cost goes up to 400%. So even if you did nothing but just reduce attrition, the bottom line improves, because actually you're making huge savings on the productivity and the finances within the organization.
So are we going to have to wait until there's enough women in senior leadership positions before we see empathetic workplaces?
Well, we know that empathy is viewed as a leadership trait for women, but we also know that it is increasingly recognized as a leadership trait today. It's a superpower that leaders need today. So it's not just about having women recognized as empathetic leaders. What I think we do need to do is recognize that it's a critical skill for everyone. And we should not have women as the empathy carriers in the organization, but actually promote it, encourage the discussions around it in terms of leadership in the 21st century, having empathy as one of its super skills.
Yet the message is already out there and it's resonating with Gen Zs and millennials. Are they not already more receptive to the concept as opposed to perhaps older employees?
Yeah, and I think this is really great, actually, because when you look at the difference across generations, you're seeing very different reactions and responses to what empathy means, how it's understood, what it brings into the workplace. Again, I think this is where really strong leadership, particularly amongst the older generation, becomes critical to really understand what the younger generation, what the millennials and Gen Zs are bringing into that space. And really, when you think about what empathy is, it's about walking in somebody else's shoes. It's seeing the world from their perspective. So the more you're able to do that across generations, across the diversity in the workplace, it provides a much richer and a much more fulfilling model of leadership, and that mental agility that is just required to navigate our complex environment today. It's almost a no-brainer, really.
I wish that was the case. Shaheena, thank you so much again for your time.
Thank you, Annette.
To Iran now, and a 16-year-old girl has been left in a coma and being treated in hospital under heavy security after an assault on the Tehran subway. The girl was not wearing a headscarf as dictated by Iranian law. Human rights activists say the teenager, named as Armita Garawand, was badly injured in a clash with morality police officers. Iranian officials have denied the allegations. And next to Somalia, whose hard-won security gains have resulted in increasing economic growth, particularly in the capital Mogadishu. Women there making small but significant steps in traditionally male-dominated sectors such as construction and engineering. Charlie James reports on how young Somali women are hoping more role models in so-called male jobs will also open more doors.
Faduma is hard at work, building walls and breaking down stereotypes. As a civil engineer in conservative Somalia, the 22-year-old has faced social stigma, family opposition, and workplace harassment. She often supervises male workers twice her age.
Local people are very surprised when you tell them that you are a civil engineer. They ask, why are you doing this kind of work? You're wasting your time.
In Somalia, women make up less than a third of the workforce, and construction and engineering are viewed as men's domain. Societal expectations also greatly shape women's futures. More than a third of girls are married before age 18, and many families frown on women working closely with men. Fatih's family is supportive of her career, but she saw this social pressure reflected at her university.
At the beginning of university enrollments, there were only 2 women in this field of study. We were the first female civil engineers to graduate from our university.
Security improvements have created a construction boom in Somalia's capital, Mogadishu, and a boom in opportunities for women. The number of female engineers is growing, and the deputy director of city planning is a woman. Still, the challenges are real and substantial. Female engineers report sexism, disrespect from laborers they supervise, and a gender pay gap, especially in the private sector. But there are men who appreciate working with women.
When I used to work with male engineers, there weren't too many work opportunities. When I started working with this lady, Fatih, my income increased and now I help my children and my parents.
Breaking new ground is always a challenge. But Fadula says she sees the progress. In a recent training course, she was surprised to see more than 100 women advancing their skills alongside her.
And that's all for this edition. We'd love to hear your suggestions for the 51%, so do get in touch with us via Facebook, Instagram or X. And you can catch our previous episodes on our website. So until our next show, bye for now.